Welcome to Discover Greater Lansing. Whether you're exploring the rich history of the state capital or indulging in incredible local food, there's always something exciting happening here. Discover living. Discover mobility. Discover downtown. Discover giving back. Greater Lansing offers breathtaking activities and outdoor adventures, ensuring a perfect balance of city life and natural beauty. Discover the warmth. Discover the charm. Discover Greater Lansing. The journey begins now.
Good morning and welcome back to Discover Greater Lansing. Today I am honored and thrilled to have with us Dr. Renee Kennedy. She is in the fabric of our community. She serves so many important roles. She is my heroine. She has done great things, especially in the area of public health. It's what makes our community great. People like you, Dr. Kennedy. Thank you for being with me this morning.
My honor. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have been talking about everything from education to airports to dining. But today we're gonna get real. And it is about health, but it's about equity in health. And what does that mean? And we're all going to talk about your great book that came out last year. And it's Room at the Table, A Leader's Guide to Advancing Health Equity and Inclusion. And what an important topic. It's a deep topic, and we won't be able to cover it in our short time together. But let's start with, first of all, what prompted you to want to delve into this important topic at a time it's very DEI is very popular. Everybody's trying to grasp it and incorporate it into their lives, business and personal. But what prompted you for the book?
Well, this is a culmination of a journey, a personal and a professional journey that happened pretty much all right here in the Greater Lansing community, where my entire career has been peppered by experiences, of course, outside of the state. But we got to a point where I wanted to see people be a little bit more courageous and bold about the things that get in the way of authentic, meaningful, and effective relationships. We need relationships to be healthy. We need relationships to advance well-being. And so after being prodded by several people, you should think about writing a book. An opportunity came to me, and so I was thrilled to take advantage of it.
So what's it mean? What if I saw you in an elevator and you said, I just wrote a book? What's my takeaway from the book? Authenticity, that's like being real, right? It's like taking our collective experiences and living our lives and creating those relationships. And again, the preface of our show is how great our region is and what makes it great. And without people, you have no community. And without health, you have you don't have a good community. So tell us a little bit about that foray into public health. Some of the surprises you've seen along the way, some of the lessons, some of the opportunities you perhaps have uncovered.
Well, the American Public Health Association and many of our sort of historical figures in public health define public health. The mission of public health is assuring the conditions necessary for good health. Not necessarily just the clinical opportunities, which are important, but where we live. The Centers for Disease Control describe it as where we live, work, play, pray. It's the context of our lives. And so how are we in the Greater Lansing community defining conditions that make sure healthy choices are easy choices, that are limiting the things that threaten our health? And for me, I have watched over a 30+ year public health career, difference get in the way of health and well-being, and difference like race and gender and class and religion and politics, all damning, if I can say, the effectiveness of our relationships. And without effective relationships, then we can't construct policies that are in the best interests of everyone and not just a few. We can't stand up programs that benefit everyone and not just a few. And it does require us to lean into some discomfort right now. Nobody wants to talk about racism, and nobody wants to talk about gender oppression. But we've got to do it because there are still some things getting in the way of how we lead and how we advance public health.
Absolutely. And so we take that big word equity. And I saw a presentation a while ago, and it had 3 little guys at the baseball fence. I'm sure you're familiar with this one. And one little guy's taller, so his stool doesn't need to be as high. And then the next is, so it's all so they can see the game, right? So they have the opportunity. But equity doesn't mean equal. Right. Can you let's talk about the meaning of the words. As an English nerd at my roots, I love when we start a conversation in relationships with a common understanding of the words we're using to communicate. So let's talk about equity.
Yeah, I love words too, and they do matter. They make
Yes.
a huge difference. And it's interesting to me as a medical sociologist by training that we've all been socialized that fairness is sameness. If everyone's not being treated the same, then it's not fair. But I always say that sometimes the most unfair thing we can do is to treat people the same. I have the honor of having raised 3 young boys, now adult men, and it required me treating them all very differently because they had different strengths, they were motivated by different things, they were inspired by different things, yet in our society, we think it's one size fits all. And so equity, whether you need a box or I don't need a box, by the way, you gave me a box, take mine.
Yes.
I don't need it. Giving ourselves permission to align strategies and responses with needs and accepting that that's okay.
Yeah, very well put. It is something when we get to realize we're individuals and cookie cutter, and it's taken a sense of maturity for me that a cookie cutter approach is you'll have a nice cookie at the end, but the scraps and what happens to the scraps are those who aren't included in the cookie cutter, if you will. And it's the relationships in your book that you explore and you talk about and do a little bit of storytelling, if you will, to share some of those insights. Is there 1 or 2 examples you could share with our viewers today about what they can find in the book and what it means?
Yeah, I hope that they'll see a real example of transparency and authenticity. We sometimes play games with each other, right? And it gets in the way. I'm not going to be fully myself. I'm not going to show you this. As a matter of fact, some of my friends have read the book and said, I can't believe you told that story. Are you sure you should have told that story? But if I'm going to try to encourage people to be transparent and authentic, then I have to do the same thing myself. Because I talked about it's important to treat people differently or meet them at the point of their needs, but there are also these patterns that we've seen in our society where if you look at the pay inequities for women by gender, right? We look at the health disparities, the differences that we saw, particularly during the COVID pandemic, but also things that many of us in public health knew have been there for a long, long time. So there are some shared experiences that may disadvantage people that have a shared social identity. And how do we recognize that? Begin to deconstruct those experiences for others. And so in the book, I talk about the birth and the death of my firstborn son, who was born prematurely, died as a consequence to complications when he contracted RSV. Now we all know what RSV is. At that time, we were like, what is RSV? But I contributed to this statistic of Black infant mortality, right? That Black babies were 4 times the risk of dying than white babies before their first birthday. So how do we look at shared experiences, unique needs to advance a common agenda?
And it is. It takes you out of your comfort zone a little bit because as a cancer survivor, not once but twice, it was hush-hush because the C word everybody was terribly afraid of, and you didn't talk about it unless it was in hushed undertones, because people were afraid, and fear is a driver of keeping those things inside. Our mental health crisis, such as it is, pre and post pandemic. But if we don't share these stories, would you agree that that's an important first step?
Absolutely.
In a solution.
And I keep talking about courage. How can we begin to talk about the things that we're uncomfortable discussing for the good of us all?
Right. And in a language that's not, I think sometimes people are afraid of what they don't know or what words they can say, be it you're speaking with a different race, different sexual preference, or whatever the caveat is. What words can I not use and be sensitive? So the worst thing we can do is not talk and keep those things to ourselves, but we can talk and with a little bit of humility and say, if that's offensive, will you let me know? Because we don't know what we don't know, and having those honest conversations. So I want to talk a little bit now about leadership, because words, management and leadership are not the same. We all know that, here are the rules, managed by rules. Tell us your vision for leadership and how that ties into public health and the good of a community.
Leadership, I believe, is where you are, what you're doing at that time, and what influence and power you have. And we do all have power. Again, we're socialized to believe that we don't have power unless we have a very important title, or we're at the top of the hierarchy. But I've seen some of the deepest leadership and power come from entry-level staff, come from community volunteers saying, excuse me, have we thought about XYZ? Or you're interested in decreasing obesity, we're interested in decreasing violence, because it won't matter what our weight is if we're not living here. We all have an opportunity to lead, to shape thought, and to influence decisions around us. It is not about a position. It is about a commitment to doing what's good for others. Leaders are not self-centered, right? At MPHI, where I spend most of my days working, we talk about servant leadership. How do we lead in a way that helps those around us be better? And so I try to, particularly for young mentees or students, disabuse them of the notion that I'm not a leader. You are a leader if you choose to lead.
Wonderful. That's inspiring to everyone. It's not a book on how to get to the top quickly, right? It's the opposite of that.
Yes.
It's how to bring everybody up together and in doing so. So it sounds like a very complex attempt to solve this difficulty, these barriers to health equity and inclusion. Do you have some of the solutions, or at least what actions as a community we can do to make those opportunities available to have health equity and inclusion so that everybody has access?
It really is an attempt to demystify. How do we simplify this? It's not complicated. It might be complex. There are a lot of moving parts, but how do we work together? Any solution that we've implemented, I would say in any industry, but certainly in public health, have come from centering the people most affected by the problem. Let them be the experts at their own well-being, and those of us that have different resources positioning the implementation of the needs and the concerns that they share with us. And so it is about dialogue, being together authentically. It is about the words we choose and not letting the fear of choosing the wrong words stifle you, but being willing to stumble and fail forward, as they say, use that mistake to learn more and build relationships. There are strategies. We have seen solutions. But certainly I have over the 30 years of my career here in Lansing, both in AIDS, during the AIDS epidemic, when I first started my career, during the COVID pandemic, even improvements where we see infant mortality decreasing. We can do it if we'll be open to each other, particularly across difference.
Absolutely. And those differences, we see a lot of intergenerational differences, and where the Gen Xers, Gen Z, boomers, you name the gamut, but talking to each other and communicating, first of all, in the words, but on those platforms, here, I'm not a big TikToker, no offense, TikTok owners, but when you're trying to teach teen boys, especially about the dangers of vaping, maybe that's a platform you have to get on. Maybe you have to go outside of your comfort zone and meet, I think I referenced earlier, meet people where they are.
Absolutely.
And so putting a billboard up, get your COVID shot's not always going to be. It's going to be a friend telling you the importance of your health and protecting your health and the things you can do for prevention. So we have just a short time, and we can delve so deeply in this. I'm sure we're going to have you back. I'd love to have you back to talk and engage the community. Again, I think a first step is you bringing to light in your book, bringing everybody to the table, room at the table. That means bring up more chairs. We've got space all around this big community table of ours to hear your voice, to hear your concerns, and not make assumptions. So do you have room at your table, Dr. Kennedy?
You landed right where I wanted to. I really want to encourage people that if you're not setting a table that makes space for people, particularly people that are different than you, then you're missing an opportunity to make your life better, your life healthier, their lives better and healthier. And I've seen collaboration across difference work to break down racism and class oppression and all those things and strengthen us as a community.
Yeah, and in doing so, we're making a better community for everyone.
Absolutely.
And how lovely is that? So it's even a greater Lansing region. So all my guests, this is my surprise questions, but when you think about our region and you being here most of your life, if not all your life, I'm a transplant from the East Coast, but a couple things that really you love about our community, the things we offer, just a couple to share, if you will.
Well, I think being the state capital brings with it some challenges and some privileges,
Yes.
right? The very existence of the Michigan Public Health Institute was a product of governmental innovation, where state government said, how do we partner more effectively with academic partners, with community partners, and who can focus on that? And out of that was born this thing called the Michigan Public Health Institute. That's the type of innovation that makes our community great.
Right. So innovation, and of course, great people like Dr. Kennedy, and giving back and having those conversations, and they can be uncomfortable. But again, it makes our community great. And I can't thank you enough for sharing your insights, for writing this insightful book, for inspiring all of us. I so appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I'm here with Sean from Collier's Commercial. Super excited to have you back, Sean. You know, I love talking to you about what's going on commercially in the greater Lansing area. And you had mentioned before that it's a really stable environment commercially. What do you think is one of the biggest benefits for someone bringing commercial to this area?
Well, we have such a diverse environment when it comes to retail. For example, we've got, two or three distinct retail corridors, and there's a lot of synergy within those corridors. So if somebody knows they want to bring into a new restaurant, for example, we need to know who their target audience is, and we can normally come up with multiple locations for them to look at and really evaluate and understand the market and the fabric that they're trying to create. They could be downtown Grand Ledge is a different feel than, the Meridian Mall area. But there's a lot of diversity that we have, and we take pride in knowing our market well enough to help them find the right space to be occupying for their new business.
Nice. Tell me about the families that work here.
The families, I mean, we have such a great community. I mean, you can go to the communities, individual communities around this with great education opportunities. We've got the MSU community, which is, spreads out all over the Lansing region, and a lot of other education opportunities with Lansing Community College, the tech centers that we have. It's a great area to raise your kids and work, live, and play.
So basically you're telling me our families that want to bring a business here, they don't have to choose between the great place for business or great place for family. Greater Lansing gives them both.
That's right. And
Nice.
there's not a large commute that so many people are used to having. So that's
Nice.
one of the great things we get to per se here is that the community is ideal for that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Hi, Lori. Can you tell us a little bit about how the Community Foundation came to invest in Rotary Park?
Yeah, it was a great meeting of the minds, so to speak. We knew that we were going to invest a lot into the downtown Lansing riverfront, and that was where everybody wanted us to start, that area. And I started thinking, who needs to be a partner in this? Who really has it going on? And who really wants to invest in the area, in the downtown? And it had to be Rotary. And as a Rotarian, it was perfect. So went to the powers that be and said, what do you think about this? We don't have a Rotary Park. Lots of communities have a Rotary Park. And they said, yeah, I think this could be a go. And so they made a huge investment in Rotary Park.
And since the park's been constructed, what have you seen as, what's made it special to the community?
Well, there's nothing like it in all of the Tri-Counties. There's an urban beach, there's a plaza with string lights and lighted forest that changes colors, and we've got the river trail going right through it. So it's a great gathering place for everybody. It's attractive to kids and adults and older citizens alike, and everybody. It's constantly busy. It's probably the #1 used park in all the Lansing parks.
It's a great spot to have lunch.
It is a great spot to have lunch. Lots of people have lunch, even on colder days.
I'm with Dan Shanahan of Eaton Community Bank today, and we're talking about local banking. So I'm excited to have you on the show and get your perspective on this, Dan. So let's talk about local banking.
Absolutely, Karen, and thanks for having me on. Real passionate about local banking and community banking, and it's really about building that relationship with the customer.
Sure.
So we get to know the customer, and we get to know their needs, we get to know what their dreams and their goals are, and then we try to match that with solutions for their life.
Gotcha. So a person that walks in the front door, you want to be the long haul with them. You want to talk about all the different things, goal-wise, what they want to do with their money, basically from the first account to the retirement account. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely, absolutely. We talk about the entire relationship. So when a customer comes in, and maybe they're just a checking account customer, maybe they're just a savings account customer, but I want to get to know them, and I want to help them with everything.
Okay.
And having that banker that can help you with everything from retirement planning to, checking accounts, savings accounts, we can do it all, and we can get to know you, and then that way you have a tailored solution for kind of every part of your life.
Nice, nice. Okay, so let's take tailored and put it right into money.
Sure.
What does that actually mean when it comes down to the money?
Well, absolutely. Take interest rates, for example. So that's kind of the hot topic, and there's 6% interest rates, 5% interest rates, but the interest rate doesn't tell the whole story.
Nice.
And so you need a banker that's going to tell you the whole story. And if you've got questions like, well, what are the fees on this account, or what are the possible service charges that could maybe change that interest rate or could eat up into the interest that you might earn, you want a banker who's going to explain that to you point blank and not beat around the bush at all, and really have your best interests at heart.
Well, thanks for joining me today.
Yep, thanks so much.
So Kai, I understand that one of CATA's strategic goals is cross-boundary trips and regional mobility. Can you talk a little bit more about what that crazy little thing called microtransit is?
So microtransit is an on-demand transportation solution that CATA is offering inside select zones, which will bring customers to and from fixed route services.
Excellent. And can you talk a little bit about the value that microtransit services would bring to the region?
Absolutely. The value that microtransit promises is to facilitate first mile and last mile trips. That's really one of the main values of microtransit. So traditionally, that would be filled with walking and biking, where some people struggle to do that. So microtransit offers a first mile, last mile solution to facilitate that transportation.
Great. And also, could you touch on the value that microtransit brings to the rider?
Very similar to a ride-sharing app, we bring a technology component when we're introducing microtransit. So you'll be able to see where the bus is and anticipate when the bus will be to you to pick you up. Also, you'll be able to track your ride throughout your transportation experience, knowing where you are at all times.
And where would the microtransit service operate in?
The microtransit zones that CATA will offer will be in Delhi Township, Meridian Township, service to the airport, and downtown Lansing service, as well as a new service inside Delta Township.
That's really great information. Kai, thank you so much for sharing today.
Thank you.
All right, well, we're here with Miss Bika Monique of Coco Bella Boutique. She's also known as Miss Coco.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about Coco Bella Boutique.
So starting on this Coco Bella journey was like answering a call to celebrate the beauty of individuality, to empower, to encourage and inspire women through fashion. So like picture this, like 1994. I have this passion for style, I have this vision for creativity, and I have a deep desire to redefine the fashion experience for every fabulous woman out there. So Coco Bella was born out of the excitement to create a safe space where every woman can feel confident, where every woman can feel empowered, and where every woman can feel glamorous in whatever fashion choice they choose.
Well, and you do feel very loved. It's like shopping with a girlfriend when we come into your
Absolutely,
shop,
you get
for
the
sure.
girlfriend experience
Yes,
all the time.
Exactly. Well, tell us about some of the products and the services that you offer.
We can go from leisure to glam. So we can go from a not so basic tee what expresses different sayings on a t-shirt. We can do jogging suits where you can put on sneakers and later on dress them up with heels. Or we can glam you up with an after 5 evening attire or something like that.
Nice. And you do styling services there too,
Styling
right?
service as well. Consultations all the time. Just call us up.
Fantastic. Well, you are also part of Middle Village in downtown Lansing. So tell me a little bit about why you chose that program and how it's helping your business.
Middle Village, being downtown, has helped me with my exposure. And when I think of where I wanted Coco Bella to be, the vibe of downtown is where it's at.
Thanks so much for being here. It was super fun to hear what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And we'll come visit soon.
Thank you.
Wow, what another great show and another reason to discover Greater Lansing. So many wonderful things happening in our great, great community. From living, working, and playing, we've got it right here in Greater Lansing. Thanks for joining us.